Welcome to The Note. I'm Ashley.
I'm Brian.
So we were all set to do a whole breakdown about the Red Dead Redemption features and nerd out about that, but instead we've got some sad breaking news on a Friday afternoon. Telltale Games has laid off a majority of its employees. It looks like the company is down to just a small staff, and they're only there to finish up the last season of The Walking Dead.
There were some reports that Telltale had completely shut down, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. Regardless, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it is. And we're not sure how much longer the team that is remaining in place will remain in place beyond the end of Walking Dead. I mean, regardless, it sounds like this could be, for all intents and purposes, the end of one of the higher profile studios in video games. Telltale had its own very unique style of gameplay that got very, very popular with the first season of The Walking Dead. It led to a lot of collaborations with really high profile franchises. If there was a big license, chances are Telltale got it.
And obviously, people losing their jobs is the more important thing, but Telltale did also have a number of announced projects: Wolf Among Us Season 2, a game based on Stranger Things, and Game of Thrones Season 2. All of those seem like they're now canceled.
So, in addition to loss of jobs, it looks like lots of projects not in the works anymore. Telltale is currently in the middle of the release of its final season of the very well-regarded Walking Dead series. The second episode is set to launch next week, and that will continue through the end.
The news of all this broke this afternoon, Friday afternoon, after employees there started posting on social media that they no longer work at Telltale.
Well, one of those was Emily Grace Buck, who was a narrative designer at Telltale. She tweeted this afternoon, "Hey, is anyone looking for an empathetic, kind narrative designer / game designer / writer for full-time or contract work? Asking for me. I don't have a job anymore."
Another Telltale employee, the writer Josh Trujillo, tweeted, "I can confirm that I've been laid off at my cool video game job along with everybody else. This was a dream job and I will miss my friends terribly. Going dark for a bit, but I am available for freelance and contracted work."
And former lead writer Jessica Krause, who also lost her job, tweeted that today was, quote, heartbreaking. She tweeted, "Telltale was full of extraordinarily talented people who were kind and funny and creative, and it always felt like we were a family. I've made some of the closest friends I've ever had at Telltale."
She added, "I'm so sad we won't be able to show you all Wolf. It was the first game I played from Telltale Games. It was the reason I applied and got a job there. It was going to be absolutely magnificent, and I'm sorry we won't be able to share it with you."
Yeah. The loss of jobs is devastating, especially given the number of developers who are now out of a job and looking for new work. But as far as their now canceled projects go, Wolf Among Us Season 2 hits me the hardest. I was really looking forward to that, and it seemed like we were gonna get it so soon. In a blog post, former Telltale CEO Kevin Bruner wrote what sounds like an obituary for the company. He said, "Today, I'm mostly saddened for the people who are losing their jobs at a studio they love, and I'm also saddened at the loss of a studio that greenlit crazy ideas that no one else would consider."
He added, "We chose to venture where others dared not go, and we found some success along the way. It took a lot of vision, luck, willpower, teamwork, talent, and very long days and nights to get there, but it will forever have been worth it."
Now, the exact number of developers who lost their jobs wasn't exactly clear. Isn't yet. I think we'll probably get a more clarity as this continues to develop, so we can provide an update on Monday. But some outlets have reported Telltale's completely shut down, but The Verge reports the studio is still open with a small team of about 25 employees.
It cited sources inside the company that said employees were let go Friday without severance.
We reached out to Telltale for comment. We haven't received a response. Their Twitter account has also been very quiet since the news broke during the afternoon. We'll see if any of that breaks. Again, I'm sure they're responding to a lot of requests for comment right now. If there's anyone there to respond.
Right. Now, as bad as this is, it doesn't come as a complete shock because there have been signs of trouble at Telltale for a while now. In November of last year, it laid off 90 employees, which back then was about a quarter of its workforce.
All right, so that could mean that if they haven't had any more layoffs since then, if they've had kind of a hiring freeze, then they had about in the neighborhood of 270 people left, which could mean about 245 people lost their jobs today if they did keep the small crew of 25 to finish out Walking Dead Season 2.
Yeah, and that's assuming, again, that they haven't laid off more people since then, which might not be the case, but it still gives you some idea of how many people might have been affected today.
And that is, it's ballpark. There could be someone from the studio going, yeah, you guys are idiots.
Right.
So that's just a guess doing fuzzy math.
Yes.
There was also an investigation earlier this year from The Verge into what was called a culture of Telltale that promoted constant overwork, which led to a bunch of veterans leaving the studio for greener pastures. Just that the developers needed to spend more and more and more time there. Resources were stretched. There just weren't enough people to go around, especially with all the projects that they've been working on.
And then there was some drama with Bruner, who he got ousted from the company by the board last year. He sued Telltale earlier this year to recover financial damages.
And we got some indications of Telltale maybe being in a bit of trouble at that point as well. In a response to the lawsuit in June, Telltale seemed to indicate it was having those kinds of problems, saying that the company was under financial strain.
So things haven't been going great there for a while. And today, it just might have been the last straw.
Yeah, look, Telltale has been around for a long time. They started back in 2004. It was a group of former LucasArts employees, Kevin Bruner, Dan Connors, Troy Melander. Their first game, Poker Card Simulator, but their breakout game, well, they also did, they did Back to the Future.
Yeah,
I think they did some Jurassic Park stuff, but their big breakout game, the game that turned them into the studio that we now think of them as, was The Walking Dead, and that came out in 2012.
And that game was told in an episodic style, which Telltale would come to be known for as well.
Yeah, really across all of their
Yes.
other franchises, all
Right.
of their other brands and licenses since that point.
And then there was their trademark engine called the Telltale tool. That game, The Walking Dead, got a ton of recognition from fans and critics, and from there, Telltale really just blew up.
Oh my god, they got licenses to so many shows and franchises. Game of Thrones, Minecraft, Batman, Guardians of the Galaxy. At its peak last year, Telltale reportedly had about 400 employees. That's a lot of growth very, very quickly.
Right. They also had turnover at the top. Connors resigned as CEO in 2015. He was replaced by Bruner, who we already said was forced out last year. So and that's not a great sign when that happens.
Yeah, and while there were layoffs and signs of trouble, Telltale was still making some big announcements, which gave us hope that they could work it all out. In June, they announced they'd partnered with Netflix to stream its games to subscribers, which was pretty cool. That was a very new thing.
Also, at that same time, they announced they were going to make a game based on Stranger Things. So it did seem like they had stuff going on.
Just maybe couldn't quite get it done in time and to keep paying everyone.
Right.
It's hard to say at this point what was the final breaking point, but Telltale was definitely working with some very big, very expensive properties, which may have contributed to their financial difficulties. When you have those big, big licenses, they tend to cost a pretty penny, and it may just be that the games were costing more in licensing and development than they were pulling in, and that's generally not a healthy place to be as a studio.
And it's also just a really expensive business to make games. These are highly paid employees, so it's just making payroll, month to month is a lot.
Yeah, and then overstretching them all too.
Right. All in all, it was a bad week for layoffs just in the industry. Overall, earlier this week, Capcom announced it was shutting down its studio in Vancouver, Canada. 158 people lost their jobs in that closure.
And then as for Telltale, other developers have started reaching out to those affected. So there's already been a hashtag set up. It's hashtag Telltale Jobs. So that's for displaced employees to find work, which is cool. Already getting some attention.
Some big name attention too. God of War director Cory Barlog tweeted, "Oh man, that sucks to hear about another studio closure. I love the work they did on The Walking Dead and A Wolf Among Us." He also included job openings at his studio, which is Santa Monica Studio.
Also, Randy Pitchford, CEO for Gearbox Software, tweeted, "Telltale peeps affected by the studio closure. Gearbox is growing and looking for talent."
Adam Boyes, the CEO of Iron Galaxy Studios, tweeted, "Super sad to hear about the crew at Telltale. A lot of my friends were working there. If any of you need hugs, I'm here for you. If you need a place to land, we're hiring at Iron Galaxy."
And the Twitter account for The Elder Scrolls Online tweeted, "To anyone affected by the news today coming out of Telltale, feel free to reach out. We are hiring for plenty of roles."
Yeah, lots of places. Some employees from 2K also reached out, posted some job openings there too. So it's a cool kind of rallying around effect.
Yeah, so this is a very rough time for all of the former Telltale employees. Layoffs suck no matter what, but hopefully everyone finds a landing spot. And for Telltale, if this is the end, and it is a sad finish to a company that in its prime made some really great stuff.
And hey, if any of you know of any openings, post on the Telltale Jobs hashtag. Help those people out.